In the vast and arid deserts of the Arabian Peninsula over 400 years ago, a moment of profound significance unfolded, an event that would forever change the course of human history. The birth of Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the final prophet and messenger of God, was not an ordinary occurrence. It was a divine miracle heralded by extraordinary signs that echoed through the heavens and the earth, signaling the arrival of a light that would dispel the darkness engulfing the world. At that time, Arabia was a land steeped in tribal divisions, ignorance and superstition. Its people were mired in practices that bred injustice and suffering. Idolatry dominated their spiritual lives, and moral decay had become rampant. In this bleak landscape, the birth of a child was nothing out of the ordinary, yet the arrival of Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, was destined to be unlike any other. Muhammad was born into the noble Quraysh tribe of Mecca, a tribe charged with guarding the sacred Kaaba, a house of monotheistic worship established by the Prophet Abraham centuries earlier. His lineage traced back to the great Prophet Ibrahim through his son Ismail, a connection that placed him within the illustrious prophetic heritage. His father, Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib, was a man of honor, though he passed away before Muhammad's birth. His mother, Amina bint Wahb, was known for her purity, kindness, and deep spirituality. The family's noble roots were not merely a matter of status. They symbolized a profound spiritual continuity and responsibility, preparing the way for the coming of the final messenger. This sacred ancestry was more than genealogy. It was a divine choice. The birth of Muhammad was the culmination of centuries of prophetic promise, the awaited final link in the chain of messengers sent by God to guide humanity. Long before Muhammad was born, the heavens began to stir with signs of his coming. According to many traditional narrations, the very cosmos anticipated this momentous event. One of the most famous signs is the extinguishing of the eternal fire in the temple of the Persian Empire. This fire, tended for generations, suddenly went out at the hour of Muhammad's birth, symbolizing the fading of false religions and the advent of divine truth. The extinguishing was seen not just as a coincidence, but as a cosmic proclamation that a new light was coming. In addition, Christians of that era observed the disappearance of a brilliant star that had guided them, while Jews mourned the fall of the guardian angels of the Ark of the Covenant. These signs across different communities indicated a significant shift, a new chapter in God's revelation to mankind. The Bedouin tribes roaming the Arabian deserts witnessed unusual phenomena as well. Animals known for their ferocity appeared, tranquil and calm, and the skies shone brighter than usual, as if the stars themselves were paying homage to the newborn light. Muhammad's birth coincided with a year marked by a remarkable event, the Year of the Elephant. This year took its name from an army led by Abraha, the Christian governor of Yemen, who marched towards Mecca with elephants intending to demolish the Kaaba. According to tradition, this army was miraculously defeated by divine intervention. Birds carrying small stones of baked clay attacked the invaders, scattering them and protecting the sacred sanctuary. This event itself was considered a sign that Mecca and the line of Abraham's descendants were under divine protection. The Year of the Elephant is thus seen as a prophetic backdrop, preparing the world for the arrival of the one who would restore true monotheism. Muhammad was born in Mecca, in the house of his mother Amina, on a night that changed the very fabric of time. The exact date is traditionally given as the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal, though historical debates exist. Witnesses recount that a radiant light filled the room at the moment of his birth, so bright it illuminated every corner as if it were midday. This light was a tangible sign of his divine mission, a harbinger of the mercy and guidance he would bring to humanity. His mother Amina experienced signs that distinguished her child from all others. She dreamt of angels and divine messages, foreshadowing the sacred destiny of her son. The pains of childbirth, while still present, were softened by a sense of spiritual awe and blessing. Following the customs of the time, Muhammad was sent to be nursed and raised by a wet nurse outside the city. Halima Sa'diya, a woman of the tribe of Banu Sa'd, took on this sacred responsibility. Her household experienced immediate blessings upon receiving the child. Where once hardship had prevailed, prosperity and peace settled. Her animals flourished, her tent remained untouched by harsh desert winds, and the environment itself seemed to shield the child from harm. Halima would later recount how the boy's presence was marked by extraordinary tranquility and divine protection. These early years nurtured the Prophet's physical strength and spiritual resilience. The miracles surrounding Muhammad's birth are rich with symbolism. They mark the end of an era dominated by ignorance and the beginning of a new age of enlightenment. The extinguishing of ancient fires and disappearance of guiding stars symbolize the replacement of old, fading faiths with the final message of Islam. The peaceful behavior of wild animals reflects a restoration of harmony in creation itself. These signs served not just as wonders to behold, but as messages to humanity, reminders of God's power, mercy, and the profound importance of the messenger about to transform the world. From his very first moments, Muhammad was under divine protection. This is reflected in traditions that recount angels surrounding the newborn, shielding him from harm and cleansing the atmosphere of any evil. His lineage was marked by spiritual purity, and his life was destined to embody the highest ideals of justice, compassion, and truth. The birth miracles underscore this sanctity, revealing that he was chosen not only by birthright but by divine decree. Imagine the world as it was, lost, fractured, waiting for a beacon. Suddenly, in a humble home in Mecca, a child is born. Surrounded by light so intense, it dispels darkness, even in the hearts of those who witnessed it. This birth was not merely the arrival of a child, but the birth of hope itself, a hope that would inspire generations, reform societies, and bring mercy to the oppressed. For believers, this story is more than history. It is a source of inspiration, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, divine light will emerge to guide the way. The birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, was a miraculous event, heralded by signs and wonders that transcended ordinary experience. It signified the fulfillment of divine promises and set the stage for a transformative mission that would reshape human destiny. These miracles remind us that from humble beginnings can arise great change, and from divine light comes eternal guidance. The miraculous birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, was but the beginning of a life filled with divine signs and protection. His early years were marked by a sequence of extraordinary events that set him apart from others and foreshadowed the unparalleled mission he would undertake. Following ancient Arabian custom, the infant Muhammad was sent to be raised in the desert among the Bedouins, who were renowned for their purity of speech and simple, uncorrupted lives. His wet nurse, Halima Sa'diya, from the tribe of Banu Sa'd, was a woman of humble origins who quickly recognized the specialness of her young charge. From the moment Muhammad entered her care, Halima's household was blessed with prosperity and peace. Where there had been scarcity, abundance blossomed. Her livestock thrived and her tents remained untouched by the harsh desert storms that battered neighboring tribes. These blessings were seen not as coincidence, but as clear signs of divine favor surrounding the child. Halima would later speak of the tranquility and unusual serenity that Muhammad exuded, even as an infant. His presence brought calm to restless animals and comfort to those around him. This period was crucial not only for his physical growth, but also for the early spiritual protection that surrounded him. Throughout his childhood, Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, was shielded from dangers that would have afflicted any ordinary child. Traditional accounts speak of angels guarding him, creating a spiritual barrier against harm. One story recounts how, during an attempt to abduct or harm him, Muhammad was miraculously protected by an unseen force, thwarting those who wished to impede God's plan. Such divine interventions underscored the special nature of his life and the sacred mission that awaited him. From the very beginning, the heavens seemed to watch over the child, destined to become the seal of the prophets. At a young age, Muhammad experienced the profound sorrow of losing his father, Abdullah, even before his birth, and later his mother, Amina, when he was still a small boy. These losses marked a difficult chapter in his life. Yet even in these moments of human vulnerability, divine mercy was evident. After Amina's death, Muhammad was placed under the care of his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, a respected leader known for his wisdom and piety. When Abdul Muttalib also passed away, the young Muhammad came under the guardianship of his uncle, Abu Talib, who provided protection and support despite not being a Muslim himself. This period shaped the young Muhammad's character, instilling in him resilience, compassion, and a deep understanding of human suffering. The early hardships, combined with divine protection, prepared him for the immense challenges that lay ahead. Even as a child, Muhammad was distinguished by miracles that pointed to his prophetic destiny. Among these was the story of his playing near the Karbala, when by divine command the black stone descended and greeted him warmly, a sign that the sacred stone recognized the future messenger. Other tales speak of his ability to understand and speak at an early age, a divine gift that set him apart from his peers. His honesty and purity earned him the nickname Al-Amin, the trustworthy, even before he began preaching Islam. Throughout his youth, he was known for his kindness to the weak, his justice in disputes, and his rejection of the prevalent idolatry. These traits foreshadowed the character that would define his prophethood. Mecca, though a center of trade and pilgrimage, was rife with social injustice, idol worship, and tribal rivalries. The people revered multiple gods, practiced superstition, and lived with harsh customs that often marginalized the weak. The young Muhammad, growing up in this environment, was deeply affected by the stark contrast between the truth he felt within and the falsehood around him. His spiritual sensitivity and innate wisdom caused him to seek solitude and reflection, especially in the cave of Hira, where he would later receive revelation. This environment of spiritual darkness made his eventual mission all the more critical and profound. The birth and upbringing of Muhammad were part of a divine plan centuries in the making. Prophets before him had foretold his coming, and scriptures pointed to the final revelation that would be completed through him. This lineage of prophethood, through Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and others, culminated in Muhammad, who was born with the weighty responsibility of delivering God's final message to mankind. The miraculous nature of his birth and early life were signs to believers that he was the chosen one, destined to bring mercy and guidance to all. The years before prophethood were years of spiritual preparation. Muhammad's early life was marked by a purity of heart and mind, nurtured by divine grace and human kindness. He displayed a deep sense of empathy and justice, refusing to accept the injustices and moral failings of his society. His natural inclination toward worship and contemplation set the stage for the revelations that would soon come. The miracles and signs surrounding his birth and childhood were not mere wonders, but spiritual lessons for humanity. Lessons in faith, perseverance, and hope. Imagine a world longing for truth, yet surrounded by darkness. Into this world was born a child whose very presence brought light. light that would not only guide a nation, but inspire billions across centuries. The story of Muhammad's birth and early life invites us to reflect on the power of divine intervention, the triumph of faith, and the enduring hope that emerges even in the bleakest circumstances. The early years of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, were marked by divine protection, miraculous signs, and profound spiritual significance. From his nurturing in the desert to the hardships he overcame, every moment was part of a divine plan that prepared him for his unparalleled mission. These events continue to inspire believers around the world, reminding them of the mercy, guidance, and light that the Prophet brought into a dark world. The miraculous birth and early years of Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, set the stage for a mission that would forever alter the course of history. Yet the moment his life took its most profound turn was when, after years of contemplation and spiritual yearning, he received the first revelation from God, the moment when the divine message began to flow through him like a river of light, destined to cleanse the hearts and minds of humanity. In the heart of the Arabian Peninsula, just outside Mecca, stood the rocky mountain known as Jabal al-Nur, the Mountain of Light. There, in a small cave called Hira, the young Muhammad often sought refuge from the noise and darkness of the world. It was a place of solitude and deep meditation, where he wrestled with the spiritual void he perceived in his society. During these retreats, he pondered the purpose of life, the nature of God, and the destiny of humankind. His heart was heavy with the suffering and injustice he witnessed around him, and he longed for guidance. It was in this sacred solitude that the heavens prepared to unveil their greatest secret, a divine message entrusted to a chosen soul. One night, as Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, was meditating in the cave, the angel Jibril, appeared to him with a command from God. "Iqra, read!" Startled and overwhelmed, Muhammad responded, "I cannot read." 3 times the angel repeated the command, and each time Muhammad expressed his inability. Then the angel revealed the first verses of what would become the Quran. "Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not." Quran 96, 1-5. This moment marked the birth of prophethood. The weight of divine knowledge was bestowed upon a humble servant who had spent his life seeking truth and righteousness. The first revelation left Muhammad shaken and fearful. The magnitude of what had occurred overwhelmed him. He hurried from the cave, heart-pounding, to his wife Khadija bint Khuwaylid, a woman of profound faith and wisdom. Khadija embraced him with love and reassurance, becoming the first believer in his mission. She reminded him that God would never abandon him and assured him of her unwavering support. Her faith and encouragement were a pillar of strength for the Prophet as he embarked on a path fraught with challenges and opposition. Following this moment, Muhammad began to receive revelations intermittently over the next 23 years. The message was clear: to call people to the worship of one God, to reject idolatry, and to uphold justice, compassion, and moral integrity. The initial message was simple yet profound: belief in God, accountability in the afterlife, and the need for righteous living. The Prophet's task was not merely spiritual, but social and political, to transform a society mired in ignorance and injustice into one founded on truth and mercy. As the Prophet began preaching openly, reactions varied widely. Among his close friends and family, a small but devoted group accepted his message wholeheartedly. These early converts were often marginalized and persecuted for their faith. However, among the powerful tribal leaders and elites of Mecca, the message was met with hostility. The established order, dependent on idolatry and tribal dominance, felt threatened by this call to monotheism and social reform. The opposition grew fierce, with attempts to silence and undermine the Prophet and his followers. Throughout these trials, Muhammad's resolve never wavered. He endured mockery, threats, and even physical harm with patience and faith. His belief in the divine origin of his mission, coupled with the support of loyal followers, strengthened his spirit. The miracles surrounding his birth and early life now found new expression in his unwavering perseverance, inspiring those around him and affirming the truth of his message. Miracles continued to accompany the Prophet's mission, serving as signs to those who doubted. The Quran itself, revealed in beautiful and powerful language, was the greatest miracle. It challenged the poets and scholars of the time, whose inability to replicate its verses affirmed its divine nature. Other miracles, such as the splitting of the moon and healing the sick, were signs of God's support and the Prophet's unique role. These wonders helped galvanize the faithful and unsettled the opponents. Imagine the weight on Muhammad's shoulders, the knowledge that he was chosen by God to guide not only his tribe or city, but all of humanity. Every revelation carried the hopes and fears of countless souls. His mission was not just to preach, but to transform hearts and societies fundamentally. The initial fear after the first revelation was natural, but his courage and faith became a beacon for all who sought light in the darkness. The first revelation was the moment when the divine plan began to unfold through Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family. It marked the start of a prophetic mission destined to change the world. Despite fierce opposition, the early years of preaching were filled with miracles, spiritual resilience, and a small but growing community of believers. The miraculous birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, and the divine protection and signs that marked his early years were more than historical events. They were profound messages to humanity, echoing through time. These wonders set the foundation for a life devoted to mercy, justice, and guidance. As the years unfolded, the initial light that shone at his birth grew into a brilliant beacon, illuminating the hearts of millions, breaking the chains of ignorance, and paving the path towards spiritual awakening. The miracles surrounding his birth were the first chapter in a narrative of divine mercy and justice. They fulfilled ancient prophecies and divine decrees, linking the final messenger to the great line of prophets who came before him. His early life, filled with blessings and challenges, prepared him for the immense responsibility of conveying God's final revelation to mankind. These events remind believers that divine wisdom governs all things, and from the humblest beginnings, great transformations can emerge. The story of the Prophet's birth and early life continues to inspire awe and devotion. It teaches that every hardship carries the seed of mercy, and every divine plan unfolds with perfect wisdom. The miraculous events are not just tales of wonder, but lessons in faith, patience, and hope. They invite us to trust in God's plan, even when the path is difficult. For those who seek meaning and guidance, the life of the Prophet offers a radiant example. His miraculous birth is an invitation to reflect on the nature of divine mercy and the power of faith to transform lives. It calls upon us to open our hearts to truth, justice, and compassion, embodying the values he brought to humanity. Imagine the moment again, the desert skies glowing with celestial light, the earth whispering of a new dawn, and a child whose very existence was a sign of hope for a weary world. That child grew to be a man who carried the weight of humanity's salvation with grace and strength. His life, rooted in those early miracles, continues to guide us toward the eternal light of truth. The miracles surrounding the birth and early life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, were the divine prelude to a mission that changed the world. They symbolize the triumph of light over darkness and the promise of mercy for all creation. As we remember these sacred events, may we be inspired to follow the path of compassion, justice, and unwavering faith that the Prophet exemplified. Thank you for joining this journey through history and spirituality. May the light of his message illuminate your heart always.